So this is the new Stalingrad map on the E100, the German Tier 10 Heavy. I thought I'd talk a little bit about this map. I've only played it a handful of times, but basically my early impressions of it, at least in terms of the pubby meta, is that people tend to either go onto this west area here or all the way over to the east area here. The middle area is somewhat neglected. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about this eastern lane, particularly the 7, 8, 9 lanes. And basically there's a somewhat open beach over here, there's some rolling hills and things like that, and then on this 8 line there's a number of buildings to actually give you cover. A lot of puppies go out here, and I think it looks like a fairly easy enough play. The idea being though that there's a lot of little cut-ins through like the 7 and 8 line that you can take to get around to the flanks of people, and also use this area to sort of push up and then come in across over the top of people, which is what we're going to do in this particular video. And you always want to look at what your dispersion looks like, and this is fairly typical. You see everyone is going either fully west or fully east. Seems like this middle area is a little bit of a wide open area, and you'd be rather prone to being shot, but there is some cover there as well. But what I'm going to focus on today is just sort of this sort of area right here where this 1390 has sort of just gone in. It's basically just this little rectangle with a building in the middle, and you can enter it from either side, and there's also an outlet to the beach side. And the nice thing about this is that you can come up over here, especially in a heavy tank or a tank with a lot of armor, and already be in a position where you're relatively close to the enemy, but you're not vulnerable sort of on the way there for the most part. And so this is a good corner to sit on in this particular configuration, and it makes it so that you can sort of pick up these tanks as they come along. And then the nice thing about being right here where I am at, as opposed to being where they're at, is that I am safe from artillery and they are not. So they're dependent on the slope of that hill. And then I just have to make sure that I don't get flanked through this 7 line. And then right now I'm just waiting. We have enough of our players out here. I'm just waiting for them to actually get here. And in the meantime, I can just sit back and wait. And then you'll see that I have more than enough support back here, and like I said, we've got only 4 or 5 tanks on the west side. The middle is pretty much empty and everything else is on our lane. They're starting to retreat here because they're essentially just getting whittled down. And so you always want to press your advantage. And for example, if this was a stalemate, one of the things that you can do in the in a heavy tank is actually continue going down this 7 line, come south through here and flank them through the G line as well. And it looks like eventually we're going to get overrun on that west, potentially, so I know that I kind of want to speed this up if I can. I've still got a good amount of health, so I can push in here, and then I just, these guys behind me at some point just have to get brave enough to push in. And so we do know that there's a waffle in the back, but the waffle's a little bit too far forward, so he's not going to be able to get good shots on very many things without having a whole bunch of people shooting at him as well. And then now they're running on this side, but we're losing that western flank. So that's something that we're trying to keep an eye on, keep up with. So we've cleared off this side entirely. So now the smart play is always to try to go back. Winners try to defend. Always remember. And so you want to go back and be able to clean this up if they end up pushing through. We've got a pretty good health lead. We've got a pretty good tank lead. But you never know. You don't want to get capped out when you're up 10-4. And so anyways, as I was saying, the interesting thing about this beach side is that, or the map in general, and particularly on this east side, is that there's a lot of these little alleys through which you can actually just go down the next block, turn in, and you can get to the flank of another set of enemies. So like again, like I said, if this was more of a stalemate out here, I could have just cut down and gone into the next one, or however far I needed to go in order to get to a flank. It doesn't seem like something that you'll want to necessarily do in a lighter tank, but if you're in a heavy tank, it certainly seems like a pretty good idea. There's a lot of little bits of cover and places where you can hold down on this particular map, and so it's a lot of the positioning on this map and the meta, in my early opinion. Like I said, I've only played this a handful of times, but it will be that how you move about this city and which bits of these rubble that you actually use to your advantage will sort of dictate how well you'll do in the match. And so like that particular little alley that we went to, or area that we went to, that sort of E7-ish area that we went to at the beginning of the game, that's those types of strategic positions are going to be important, because it puts a lot of pressure on those guys that were right next to me, that M103, the E4, Patton, those guys, they can't just sit there. They have to decide what they want to do. They can either push forward, or they have to pull back, or they can attack me. They can't just sort of camp there behind those buildings, because they'll eventually just get whittled down. And then you just hope that your team that went east is aggressive enough to push forward, to make sure that they're actually getting shots and not just waiting for shots to happen. And it seems like a lot of times if you can control this sort of center area on either side, either the center area over here or the center area over on this side, we'll have to make another video at some point to talk about that you can sort of control how this engagement goes, either on the east or the west respectively. And so while that was not some super game, the fact that we were able to be out front, even though we were in pretty much the slowest tank in the game other than the T95, we pushed forward to that E7-ish position, and we were out front of everybody, and that allowed us to get some shots. We were able to use our armor, particularly when we pushed in to finish crushing that side, to some effect, which is always good. And so we ended up doing like 4K damage with 2.4K spawning, which for an E100 is respectable, considering how quickly we needed to crush that side, because you never know when you're going to lose that other side. And so you're always on that timer where you have to look not just at how your side is doing, but also at how you think your other side is doing, and how long you think you have, and how quickly you'll need to work. Anyhow, so that's my sort of early look and analysis of Stalingrad, at least on that eastern side of the map. So just don't forget that you can utilize a lot of those sort of alleys on the 7 line to get into positions where you can make things uncomfortable for your enemy. And thanks for watching.